Hello and a very warm welcome to a special edition of The World Today. I'm Gaurav Sawant. We begin this broadcast with the latest news coming in from Los Angeles. In the United States of America, there is trouble. After 3 days of violent protests against President Donald Trump's immigration policy, police have declared all of downtown Los Angeles will now be considered an unlawful assembly area. Protesters have been directed to go home. They've been ordered to go home. National Guard has now been deployed, as you can see in those images, those military green, olive green vehicles, they've now been deployed, and the aim is to quell the riots. Of course, this has been criticized by California's Governor Gavin Newsom as he called this move unlawful. US President Donald Trump actually took a dig both at the governor and at the mayor on his social media platform, Truth Social, when he said, and I quote, "The very incompetent governor and the mayor should be saying, 'Thank you, President Trump.' Instead, they choose to lie to the people of California and the United States of America by saying we weren't needed and that these are peaceful protests." He concluded saying sending in the National Guard to Los Angeles was a great decision. Listen in to President Trump's interaction with the reporters. You're looking at these images, and we'll just show you images of how Los Angeles was burning. Protesters took to the streets. They set parts of downtown Los Angeles on fire, and that very clearly is not freedom of expression and speech. Look at these images. Is this freedom of expression? Is this what the United States wants the world to follow? Freedom of expression? And look at what they do on ground themselves. First the police, and then bringing in virtually the armed forces, bringing in their National Guard. Look at these images of violence, chaos, and riots. We bring you more. Listen in to Donald Trump.
I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows. All you have to do is look at the little railroad he's building. It's about 100 times over budget. We're putting a flagpole over there. Under budget. I always do under budget.
What does your intel tell you about these people causing all the problems in LA? Are they people ICE is trying to deport, or are they professional agitators?
The people that are causing the problem are professional agitators. They're insurrectionists. They're bad people. They should be in jail.
You know, when they say first world, the United States of America, they lecture the entire world, but look at what's happening in their own backyard. Watch these images, and these are horrifying images. This clearly is not freedom of expression, ladies and gentlemen. This is not freedom of speech. Arson, rioting, violence is never freedom of speech. But this unrest in Los Angeles has become a major flashpoint in President Trump's signature effort to clamp down on illegal immigration. The Republican president has pledged to deport a record number of people who are in his country illegally. There's also a lockdown at the US-Mexico border. Now that's setting the Border Enforcement Agency, or the ICE, a daily goal of arresting at least 3,000 illegals and then sending them out of the United States of America.
Get back! Get back! Get back!
Los Angeles is engulfed in turmoil after sweeping immigration raids sparked fierce protests across the city. What began as demonstrations quickly escalated into violent clashes, forcing the deployment of 2,000 National Guard troops to restore order. Protesters targeted vehicles, setting them ablaze and standing defiantly on their roofs, a dramatic symbol of the unrest gripping the city. Roadways were blocked, disrupting the city's traffic flow as law enforcement responded with tear gas and rubber bullets, sparking chaos and sending crowds scattering for safety. Among those caught in the violence was an Australian journalist struck by a rubber bullet while reporting live on the violence. Tensions reached a boiling point when a California Highway Patrol vehicle was set ablaze on a Los Angeles freeway, further inflaming the standoff between protesters and police. Several protesters were detained, cuffed, and held under close police watch.
We need them. Well, looking at it tonight, this thing has gotten out of control. Before I could answer that, I'd have to know more about what their capabilities are, what their role is intended to be able to make that determination. But we have great cops in Southern California here that work together all the time. So we have tremendous capability here.
The Los Angeles mayor attributed the chaos to administrative failures and called on protesters to maintain peace while expressing their views.
What we're seeing in LA is chaos caused by the administration. People should exercise their right to protest. That's their First Amendment right. But people should also exercise that right peacefully. Deploying federalized troops is a dangerous escalation, but we need to be real about this. This is about another agenda. It's not about public safety. There's clearly no plan, and there is clearly no policy.
US President Donald Trump issued a stern warning to the protesters, stating that those who disrupt the peace of the country and attack law enforcement officers or National Guard troops would face serious consequences.
We're going to be watching it very closely. And when they spit at people, they spit. That's their new thing. They spit, and worse, you know what they throw at them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military.
The FBI Director Kash Patel issued stern warning to Los Angeles protesters, where he signed off saying, and I quote, "We will restore law and order. I'm not asking you, I am telling you." Los Angeles grapples with ICE unrest. The city stands at a crossroads. Republicans and Democrats are sharply divided over the handling of the demonstrations and the legality of National Guard deployment. California Governor Gavin Newsom and US Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth traded insults on social media over the deployment of the National Guard by Donald Trump administration. The fire of protests burn in LA, and the fissure between people and government widens in fever pitch. Bureau Report, India Today.
And of course, there are those who say these are just National Guards. If need be, to restore law and order, the Marines could also be deployed. Interacting with reporters on Sunday, US President Donald Trump sent out a very clear message to protesters. His administration will quell the protests. They warned local leaders to brace for at least 30 days of ramped up immigration enforcement. Listen into that entire conversation between the president and the reporters in the United States.
California, are you prepared to invoke the Insurrection Act?
Depends on whether or not there's an insurrection. No, but you have violent people, and we're not going to let them get away with it.
Even if you don't plan to invoke the Insurrection Act, do you plan to send troops to Los Angeles?
What?
Even if you're not planning to invoke that Insurrection Act, you still plan to send troops?
Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart like it was under Biden and his auto pen.
What is the bar for sending Marines to
the bar is what I think it is. I mean, if we see danger to our country and to our citizens, we'll be very, very strong in terms of law and order. It's about law and order.
Sending active Marines on the table, sir. Secretary Hegseth.
We're going to see what we need. We'll send whatever we need to make sure there's law and order.
Mr. President, do you foresee those protests spreading to other cities, Chicago, New York, for example, in the next few days?
Yes, we're going to be watching it very closely. And when they spit at people, they spit. That's their new thing. They spit, and worse, you know what they throw at them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military, which they do as a common thing. They get up to them this far away and then they start spitting in their face. That happens, they get hit very hard.
What are the rules of engagement for federal troops?
We'll see what happens. If we think there's a serious insurrection or less than that, we're going to have law and order. Very important.
How would you define an insurrection?
You have to really just have to look at the site. You have to see what's happening. Last night in Los Angeles, we watched it very closely. There was a lot of violence there. There was a lot of violence, and it could have gotten much worse. And you have an incompetent governor. Just take a look at the train stations that he's building. Like 20 times over budget. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So I did call him the other night. I said, look, you got to take care of this. Otherwise, I'm sending in the troops. That's what we did.
So protests in Los Angeles and Trump administration's hard crackdown has actually earned a thumbs up from Tesla CEO Elon Musk. Now, despite the billionaire's recent public feud with the American president, the two have found common ground on how to deal with this protest. In fact, Elon Musk reposted President Trump's Truth Social post on X. In that post, President had criticized California's leaders, including Governor Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, for their, what he described was inept, incompetent handling of the unrest. After deleting some of his controversial posts in the past, Mayor, on Friday, there seems to be a thaw in this very ugly spat between the two former best friends. Their bromance, many argue, had ended, but Elon Musk's father believes the disagreement was a fallout of principal disapproval between the two over budget, and the controversy between the two actually got exaggerated.
Well, you know, Elon is standing on principles. He wants to cut the budget into a situation that they save money instead of waste or spend more money than they have. And he was told that his role would be just that. But when he was presented with a budget that in no way represented savings, he stood by his principles and said, I'm not prepared to support this. This is wrong. And so therefore I stand by my son. On the other hand, in politics, there is give and take. So you can't always get everything perfect because you have to deal with all sorts of people, all sorts of problems. So the answer is, in politics, to try and explain to someone new to politics, it's 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. You know, that's how you go. And I'm pretty sure that soon things will be back to normal in America.
US President Donald Trump planned to speak to Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday. Now, this call comes as Trump has been trying to accelerate aid into the Gaza Strip. Early Monday morning, Israeli forces took command of that British-flagged yacht, Madeleine, which was attempting to deliver some aid to Gaza. Now, the vessel was carrying at least 12 crew members, including climate change activist Greta Thunberg. They've all been detained by Israeli forces.
Everyone, we are under attack. Please sound the alarm. They're throwing a lot of substances and objects on us. Quadcopters, the most dangerous ones.
Israeli forces boarded a charity vessel, Madeleine, attempting to reach the Gaza Strip by defying the Israeli naval blockade. The Gaza-bound aid vessel carried Greta Thunberg and other prominent activists who were detained as Israeli forces took command of the yacht.
The maritime zone of the coast of Gaza is closed to naval traffic as part of a legal naval blockade. If you wish to deliver humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip, you are able to do so through the port of Ashdod via the established channels and distribution centers.
The British-flagged yacht Madeleine is a part of Freedom Flotilla Coalition, or FFC. It's an organization that campaigns against Israel's blockade of Gaza. The FFC claimed that the Israeli military attacked and unlawfully boarded the vessel trying to deliver aid to Gaza.
My name is Greta Thunberg and I am from Sweden. If you see this video, we have been intercepted and kidnapped in international waters by the Israeli occupational forces or forces that support Israel. I urge all my friends, family and comrades to put pressure on the Swedish government to release me and the others as soon as possible.
Activist Yasmin Ajash showed in a live stream video a white substance on the deck, claiming it was dropped on the vessel by the Israeli forces.
I don't know what this is. I'm so sorry.
We don't see anyone coming.
We don't know what this is. If this is paint or some chemical. No idea, but please sound the alarm. They did say that they want to intercept us in a very calm way, but this is not what's happening. There is another war crime about to happen.
A video released by the Israeli Foreign Ministry, on the other hand, showed the crew being given sandwiches and bottled water after their vessel was boarded and taken over by Israeli forces during the night operation. Israel had vowed to stop the aid boat from reaching Gaza, describing the ship as a selfie yacht carrying celebrities. With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
And the Israeli Defense Forces gave a guided tour to foreign journalists of a tunnel beneath the European hospital at Khan Yunis. The army said its forces had retrieved the body of Hamas's military commander, Mohammed Sinwar. Now, according to the IDF or the Israeli Defense Forces, this tunnel served as a major command and control compound for Hamas, and the tunnel was targeted by Israeli forces in an operation last month. Another senior Hamas leader, Mohammed Shabana, commander of the Rafah brigade, was also found dead. Other terrorists who were killed are still being identified according to the IDF. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced Sinwar's death last month, but IDF spokesperson insisted that DNA sampling had confirmed this beyond doubt, that the body that was found was indeed of Mohammed Sinwar. Hamas, of course, is yet to comment on the report of not just the deaths of Sinwar and some of the other terrorists, but also of Mohammed Shabana.
We found underneath the hospital, right under the emergency room, a compound of few rooms. In one of them, we killed Mohammed Sinwar, you can approve now. He was the brother of Yahya Sinwar, the previous leader of this murderous and terror organization, Hamas. He inherited him, and now he was the leader, and we killed him also. Together with him was Mohammed Shabana, who was the head of the Rafah brigade, and several more terrorists who died with him. We will keep going after them until we will achieve our goals. We have to remember, we have 55 hostages still in the hands of Hamas that are being tortured as we speak now, underground, in their tunnels.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be heading to Canada for the G7 summit, his first visit to Canada in a decade plus. This comes after a year, almost a year of diplomatic meltdown between India and Canada. Now, though the invite to attend the G7 summit, according to the opposition, came rather late, but it does indicate a thaw in the relations between India and Canada. The bigger message, as Canada also made that very clear, India is now the fourth largest economy in the world. Canada, of course, said fifth, but with the fourth largest economy, a very crucial supply chain center and a country that just cannot be ignored.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is heading to Canada for the G7 summit in Alberta. This is his first visit to the country in nearly a decade, and it comes with geopolitical baggage. Just a year ago, ties between India and Canada hit rock bottom. Allegations by then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau over the killing of Khalistani separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar sparked a diplomatic meltdown. Diplomats were expelled. Trade talks froze. The rhetoric grew colder by the week. But now a thaw, as Canada's new Prime Minister Mark Carney extends an olive branch, inviting Prime Minister Modi to the G7 in Kananaskis. It's late, but it's loud. Carney says India matters. As the world's most populous nation and now the fourth largest economy, India's seat at the table is not charity, it is strategy. From AI governance to clean energy and critical minerals, India's role is pivotal.
India, the fifth largest economy in the world, effectively the most populous country in the world, central to a number of those supply chains, at the heart of a number of those supply chains, so it makes sense. And in addition, bilaterally, we have now agreed, importantly, to continued law enforcement dialogue. So there's been some progress on that. It recognizes issues of accountability. I extended the invitation to Prime Minister Modi in that context, and he has accepted.
Modi last visited Canada in 2015 to fanfare and bilateral flair. This time it is multilateral, but the stakes are high. For Canada, it is quite reset. For India, it is a bold reminder. Global influence isn't requested, it is recognized. Bureau Report, India Today.
And the much-awaited Apple event, the Worldwide Development Conference 2025 has just started, and get up for some big announcements coming in from Apple, and leading the charge is the Apple CEO, Tim Cook. Of course, there are multiple Apple veterans there. They will unveil the next generation of Apple software. Our tech editor, Cyrus, is monitoring all the events and joins us with live updates. Cyrus, what do we look forward to at this big event?
Well, Gaurav, one thing's for sure, the way people use their iPhones, the way the icons look is completely going to change now, because liquid glass, that's the theme of the event, how the icons will look. So people often complain that they get these 2D icons on their phones, but that's about to change with the new iOS 26, by the way. They are not going with the iOS 19 moniker, they're going 26. They want to have the updates airwise now. So the way the icons look in the iPhone now are going to change. And this look, by the way, is going to be across the ecosystem, be it you're using your iPad, your MacBook, everything. So this glass-looking 3D look is what you are getting. And a lot of integrations with artificial intelligence. By the way, I'm just tracking the event right now. It's going on live at Cupertino. And talk about AI. So Apple really hasn't been able to bring its A game to the AI front. So that is about to change. They are looking to integrate a lot of the AI features in the battery, of how you use the battery. And AI will make this battery efficiency come out better now. Interactions live if you are traveling abroad, if you want to communicate with someone. And if you don't have the option of an online translator, AI will be able to translate that on your devices, on your phone. Even if you have your AirPods on, these live translations can happen. So a lot of the developments in the software side, this is a software-heavy event where they talk about what developments will be coming in your entire Apple ecosystem, be it your iPhone, your MacBook, or your other Apple devices. But I think what is about to change, Gaurav, here is the way people see their iPhones, the icons. I think that's one of the updates that we have seen right now, till now. But more updates are coming in, and I think people should wait to understand how AI will change the way their devices work, because that's something that Apple is looking to push. Apple Intelligence is what they are calling it. And that is something that a lot of people are excited about, of how AI will change the way people actually use their iPhones, because that's something that even Apple has been pushing a lot, especially with competitors like ChatGPT and Google Gemini, really pushing the AI agenda forward. So yeah, I think the look of the iPhone is definitely going to change.
Okay. Keep tracking all the latest developments, and I'll come to you for more. That's all I have for you on this edition of The World Today. A quick break for all the latest news and updates. Stay with us here at India Today.